Do you know that something sitting quietly in your refrigerator right now could be slowly raising your risk of a stroke? Not in years, but tonight, while you sleep. No pain, no warning, no dizziness to alert you. You go to bed feeling fine, and by morning something has changed. You wake up confused, your speech slurred, or your hand won't move the way it did yesterday. As a brain doctor, I've seen this happen countless times. And not because of cigarettes, stress, or lack of exercise, but because of one food millions of Americans eat every single day without a second thought: cheese. Most people think cheese is wholesome, full of calcium, protein, and comfort. But what they don't realize is that certain types of cheese, especially the ones most popular among older adults, can quietly thicken your blood, spike your pressure, and trigger clots that block blood flow to your brain. It doesn't happen with pain. It happens in silence, overnight, while you dream. If you're over 60 and love cheese, this message could save your life. Because today, I'm going to reveal 7 common cheeses that secretly raise your stroke risk, and one simple way to protect your brain before it's too late. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Processed American cheese slices. If you're over 60, there's a good chance you've had a slice of that smooth orange American cheese melted on toast or tucked inside a late-night sandwich. It tastes comforting, familiar, soft, easy to chew. For many of us, it's a flavor tied to childhood, family dinners, or those quiet nights when we just want something quick and warm. But as a brain doctor, I need to tell you the truth. That same comfort food can quietly raise your risk of a stroke while you sleep. Processed American cheese isn't real cheese. It's a manufactured blend of milk byproducts, sodium phosphates, emulsifiers, and artificial colors, engineered to melt perfectly and last longer on the shelf. One single slice, just one, can contain nearly 400 milligrams of sodium. Eat 2 or 3, and you've already passed half your recommended daily limit. For a body that's 70 or 80 years old, that's not just a little extra salt. It's a chemical storm brewing in your bloodstream. Here's what happens behind the scenes. Sodium attracts and holds water inside your blood vessels. Overnight, as your body rests, your blood volume expands. The heart, already weaker than it once was, pushes harder against stiffer arteries. Blood pressure rises quietly, and those delicate vessels in your brain, the ones that have been carrying oxygen faithfully for decades, begin to strain. Tiny cracks form along the inner lining. The blood grows thicker, heavier. That's when clots begin to form. Small, silent threats that can travel upward. A single clot no bigger than a grain of sand can block a vessel in your brain in seconds. You won't feel it coming. No pain, no warning. Just one moment, you're asleep. And the next morning you wake up confused, unable to lift your arm, your speech slurred. It's not chance, it's chemistry. That harmless slice of cheese on last night's sandwich triggered a chain reaction that ended in a stroke. And here's what most seniors don't realize. The sodium in processed cheese doesn't just raise blood pressure. It alters the thickness and flow of blood itself. As we age, our kidneys don't filter sodium as efficiently. Water retention rises. Blood becomes more viscous. The harder your heart pumps, the more likely platelets are to clump. The perfect setup for clot formation during the early morning hours when strokes most often strike. I once treated a 78-year-old retired postal worker who loved his nightly grilled cheese. "It's the only thing that helps me sleep," he told me. One morning, his wife found him sitting at the kitchen table, eyes open but unable to speak. The scan showed an ischemic stroke, a blockage in one of the middle arteries of his brain. His cholesterol was fine, his heart rhythm normal. The culprit wasn't what he lacked, but what he'd eaten every night, thinking it was harmless. It's not just about salt or fat. It's about years of small choices that the body can no longer buffer. Aging changes everything: the elasticity of your arteries, the efficiency of your heart, even how your blood moves through your brain. What once was no big deal at 40 can be the trigger for disaster at 75. So tonight, when you reach for that slice of processed cheese, pause for a moment. Your brain depends on steady blood flow, not thick, pressurized currents pushing through tired vessels. Real cheese in moderation nourishes. Processed cheese in excess punishes. And if you think that's unsettling, wait until you learn what happens when the mold inside blue cheese starts affecting your circulation in a way you'd never expect. Not in your stomach, but deep inside your arteries. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Blue cheese and gorgonzola. Blue cheese, sharp, tangy, and rich, feels like sophistication in a bite. Many seniors enjoy it crumbled over salads, melted on steaks, or spread on crackers with a glass of wine. It tastes indulgent, alive with flavor. But what most people don't realize is that inside that strong flavor lies a chemical that quietly changes the rhythm of your blood, the pressure in your arteries, and even the stability of your brain's most delicate vessels. As a neurologist, I've seen what happens when something as simple as a few bites of blue cheese collides with an aging circulatory system, and the results can be devastating. That unique, almost spicy flavor in blue cheese comes from tyramine, a naturally occurring compound produced during the aging process of fermented foods. Tyramine interacts directly with blood pressure and brain chemistry. In younger adults, the body clears it quickly. But after 60, our enzyme systems, particularly the ones in the liver and brain, slow down. Tyramine lingers longer, and that's where the danger begins. Tyramine stimulates the release of norepinephrine, a stress hormone that tightens blood vessels and raises blood pressure. In a healthy young heart, that's just a temporary surge. But in an older heart, especially one already fighting stiffness, plaque buildup, or medication imbalance, that surge can be catastrophic. Blood pressure spikes sharply, arteries constrict, and the fragile vessels inside the brain are forced to bear the brunt. Within hours, the combination of high pressure and restricted flow can damage the vessel lining, making it easier for blood clots to form. Once a clot lodges in the wrong place, it can trigger a stroke, sudden, silent, and irreversible. Now, imagine adding another factor, medication. Many seniors take antidepressants, especially MAO inhibitors, or blood pressure medications that directly interact with tyramine. Together, they can create what doctors call a hypertensive crisis, blood pressure soaring to dangerous levels in minutes. I've seen patients who woke up in the middle of the night, dizzy and sweating, their hearts pounding after what they thought was just a light dinner with salad and blue cheese dressing. A few hours later, their speech slurred, their arms weak. The scans told the rest of the story. A small clot had formed, traveled, and cut off blood flow to part of the brain. Even if you're not on medication, blue cheese is still a salt bomb. 1 ounce can carry nearly 400 milligrams of sodium, and that's before the dressing or the crackers. Sodium and tyramine together are a dangerous cocktail for aging arteries. Sodium pulls in water, thickening the blood, while tyramine tightens vessels. The perfect storm for restricted circulation. The body, already slower to adapt, can't release the pressure fast enough. Blood slows, clumps, and coagulates. A small clot forms quietly while you sleep. By morning, that clot may have moved, cutting off oxygen to a part of your brain you can never get back. I remember one patient, a 79-year-old teacher who loved her wedge salads with blue cheese crumble. She told me it made her feel fancy, a small joy of her retirement years. One night, after dinner, she complained of a mild headache and went to bed. By morning, she couldn't speak. The scan showed a brainstem stroke, the kind that steals balance, speech, and sometimes breath. There was no warning, no pain, just the silent chemistry of aging blood, tyramine, and salt colliding at the wrong moment. Blue cheese isn't evil, but at this stage of life, your brain cannot afford surprises. Choose mild, low-sodium cheeses instead, like soft goat cheese or mozzarella. Your arteries need calm, not chaos. And if you think blue cheese is dangerous, wait until you hear the truth about the innocent sprinkle of Parmesan, the one hiding in nearly every American kitchen, where the real danger isn't the cheese itself, but what's secretly mixed inside it. 3. Parmesan, especially pre-grated in a shaker. There's something comforting about the sound of a Parmesan shaker. That light dusting over spaghetti or a baked potato feels harmless, even elegant. After all, Parmesan is real cheese, right? It's been part of Italian cuisine for centuries. But what many seniors don't realize is that the convenient, pre-grated Parmesan sitting in most American kitchens is far from the wholesome food it once was. Inside that plastic shaker is a hidden cocktail of salt, additives, and preservatives that quietly raise your stroke risk every single night. Pre-grated Parmesan is not the same as the fresh wedge you might shave at a restaurant. To keep it from clumping and spoiling, manufacturers add cellulose powder, a filler often made from processed wood pulp, along with anti-caking agents, preservatives, and a heavy dose of sodium. In fact, just 2 tablespoons of many store brands contain 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium, nearly half the recommended daily limit for older adults. And, unlike fresh cheese, which contains natural fats and proteins that slow digestion, this processed version hits your bloodstream fast, altering blood pressure within hours. Here's what that means for your brain. Sodium doesn't just make food taste salty, it changes how your blood behaves. High sodium levels pull water into your blood vessels, expanding volume and forcing your heart to pump harder. For younger people, their arteries can stretch to handle that extra pressure. But for seniors, whose blood vessels have already stiffened from years of wear, that pressure doesn't stretch, it strains. The delicate lining of your arteries, called the endothelium, begins to tear microscopically. Those tears become sticky surfaces where platelets gather. Within hours, a clot begins to form. Once formed, that clot might sit silently overnight, waiting for the perfect moment, often the early morning hours, when blood pressure naturally spikes, to break free and travel upward. It only takes one small clot to trigger a stroke. Suddenly, the brain region controlling speech or movement is deprived of oxygen. A few minutes can decide everything: your ability to talk, walk, or even recognize your family. And all of it started with a sprinkle of fake Parmesan you thought was harmless. Another danger hides in the additives themselves. The cellulose that keeps that cheese powdery also binds water in your gut and bloodstream. It subtly dehydrates your system, thickening your blood overnight. Thick blood moves slower, creating more opportunities for clotting. Combine that with a dinner heavy in sodium, and you've built the perfect setup for nighttime strokes, the kind that strike between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. when your body's natural defenses are at rest. I once treated a 74-year-old man, a retired chef, who proudly told me he seasoned everything with real Parmesan. except it wasn't. He used the kind from the green shaker, every meal, every day. One morning, he woke up with his right arm limp, his speech slurred. The scan showed an ischemic stroke caused by a clot in the left middle cerebral artery. His cholesterol wasn't terrible, he didn't smoke, but his sodium levels were consistently high, and his arteries showed signs of long-term strain. That daily sprinkle had quietly been building pressure inside him for years. For seniors, the brain doesn't forgive these small assaults. What feels like flavor is often slow damage. Tiny, invisible changes that steal resilience from your heart and brain over time. If you love Parmesan, buy it fresh, shave it thin, use less. It's not about deprivation, it's about protection. Every small adjustment you make gives your arteries one more day of calm, one more night of safe sleep. And if you think that dusty shaker of cheese is concerning, wait until you hear the truth about the creamy spread so many Americans smear on their morning bagels. Because what it does to your blood overnight is far worse than salt alone. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Cream cheese. It spreads so easily. Soft, creamy, comforting. A smear of cream cheese on a warm bagel, maybe with a bit of jam, feels like the most innocent pleasure in the world. For millions of older Americans, it's part of a morning ritual that feels safe, familiar, and even wholesome. But as a brain doctor, I have to tell you the truth. That same creamy spread can quietly change what happens inside your arteries, thickening your blood, raising your pressure, and setting the stage for a stroke that strikes without warning, often while you sleep. Cream cheese may look harmless, but nutritionally, it's a trap, especially for people over 60. Just 2 tablespoons contain more than 5 grams of saturated fat, a number that might sound small until you realize how your aging body processes fat differently than it did decades ago. When you were younger, your arteries were flexible, like soft garden hoses. They could stretch and rebound with every heartbeat. But over time, those same vessels grow stiff and narrow from tiny layers of plaque made of cholesterol, calcium, and fat. Cream cheese feeds that process every single day. Here's what happens. The saturated fat in cream cheese increases your LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol. LDL particles stick to the walls of your arteries, particularly in the neck and brain, the very highways that keep your mind alive and alert. Each day you spread that creamy layer, you're adding microscopic sludge to those vessels, slowing circulation and making it harder for blood to pass smoothly. Blood that moves slowly becomes thick and turbulent. It begins to swirl and stick. And once that happens, clots start to form. The process is slow, silent, and merciless. Over weeks and months, that slow-moving blood can collect in narrowed channels, forming small clots that may stay quiet until something pushes them free. A sudden spike in blood pressure, a restless night's sleep, or even the simple act of getting out of bed. When that clot travels to the brain and blocks a vessel, it triggers a stroke, cutting off oxygen in seconds. You don't feel it coming. One moment you're pouring your morning coffee, the next your speech slurs, your hand won't move, and you're staring at a face you no longer recognize in the mirror. I remember a patient, 81 years old, who told me, "Doc, I don't eat fast food, I don't smoke, I just have my bagel every morning." That bagel was smothered in cream cheese. When she came to my office after her stroke, her right arm hung limp at her side. Her MRI showed a blockage deep in the left hemisphere of her brain, a clot that had likely formed over time from plaque and thickened blood. She hadn't eaten junk, but she'd eaten habitually, and for the aging body, habit is often what kills. The truth is, cream cheese doesn't just sit in your stomach. It alters your entire vascular rhythm. Its fats change how your blood cells move, how sticky your platelets become, and how resilient your heart remains through the night. What feels like comfort food is, in reality, slow erosion, a quiet storm building in your arteries, one bite at a time. If you love that creamy texture, switch to lighter, whipped versions, or spread mashed avocado or ricotta instead. Your taste buds will adjust. Your heart and brain will thank you. And if you think cream cheese is risky, wait until you hear about the cheddar hiding in nearly every American fridge, the one that looks natural but inside your bloodstream behaves like a loaded weapon. 5. Cheddar, especially aged, sharp varieties. Cheddar, golden, rich, and full of character, has been part of the American table for generations. From grilled cheese sandwiches to casseroles, from holiday platters to bedtime snacks, it's a taste of comfort and tradition. But for aging arteries, that comfort can become quiet danger. Because what makes cheddar sharp and flavorful with age also makes it heavy, salty, and chemically stressful to your brain's fragile blood vessels. As a brain doctor, I've seen it too many times. Patients who thought a small cube of cheddar was harmless until the day it wasn't. Here's what most people don't know. As cheddar ages, its moisture decreases and its salt concentration increases. Aged sharp cheddar contains up to 450 milligrams of sodium per ounce, along with 6 to 9 grams of saturated fat. For a younger body, those numbers might be manageable. But after 60, everything changes. The arteries stiffen. The heart pumps harder to move blood through narrow channels. Sodium and saturated fat together raise blood pressure, thicken the blood, and slow its flow. The perfect setup for clots to form, silently, invisibly, in the veins and arteries that feed your brain. Inside your body, every bite of cheddar sparks a small chain reaction. Sodium pulls water into your bloodstream, increasing volume. Fat triggers inflammation, irritating the delicate lining of your arteries, the endothelium, making it sticky and uneven. Tiny platelets moving through your blood begin to attach themselves to those roughened spots. Within hours, microclots develop, especially during rest when blood flow naturally slows. Those clots may stay small for weeks, even months, until one night, as you sleep, a small surge in blood pressure dislodges one. It travels upward, lodging itself in a vessel barely wider than a strand of hair. Oxygen stops flowing. A stroke begins. I once treated a man named Howard, 76, a retired firefighter. He was strong, proud, and still loved his nightly snack, a few crackers with sharp cheddar and a glass of red wine before bed. "It helps me unwind," he told me. Then one morning, his wife found him slumped over the kitchen counter, unable to move his right hand. The scan showed an ischemic stroke in the left side of his brain. No heart disease, no diabetes, just years of slow nightly damage. His blood work revealed elevated LDL and sodium levels, the hidden legacy of his favorite cheese. The comfort that soothed him each night had betrayed him in silence. Cheddar also contains tyramine, the same compound found in blue cheese, which can interact with certain blood pressure and depression medications. In older adults, tyramine may trigger sudden surges in pressure, especially during the early morning hours when the body's hormonal rhythms shift. For a brain that's already vulnerable, even a brief spike can rupture weakened vessels or push a small clot into motion. You may never see it coming until your speech falters or your vision fades in an instant. Aged cheddar's problem isn't that it's fake, it's that it's too concentrated for the aging body to handle daily. If you crave the flavor, choose mild, low sodium, or reduced fat cheddar. Eat it earlier in the day, paired with water and vegetables to balance its effects. Your goal is not to give up pleasure. It's to protect the flow of life itself, your blood, your brain, your memory. And if you think a few slices of cheddar are dangerous, wait until you learn the truth about those bright orange cheese spreads and dips, the ones that promise convenience but hide something far more harmful than fat or salt alone. 6. Cheese spreads and dips. They come in cheerful tubs and bright cans, promising flavor and convenience, the kind of easy comfort food many older Americans grew up with. A spoonful on crackers, a dip for vegetables, maybe a dollop on baked potatoes. It feels harmless, even nostalgic. But as a brain doctor, I can tell you this: cheese spreads and dips are not food. They are chemical traps designed to taste good while quietly damaging the arteries that feed your brain. When you open one of those containers, the nacho cheese, the pimento spread, the cheese whiz, you're not looking at real dairy anymore. You're looking at a mixture of hydrogenated oils, processed fats, emulsifiers, and stabilizers designed for shelf life, not health. Many of these products still contain trans fats, even in small amounts, which are among the most destructive substances for the human circulatory system. Trans fats raise LDL cholesterol, the kind that clogs arteries, and lower HDL, the kind that protects you. Over time, they thicken your blood, inflame your vessel walls, and make your platelets stickier, the perfect conditions for blood clots to form. These spreads are also extremely high in sodium and preservatives like sodium phosphate. Just 2 tablespoons can contain more salt than an entire serving of soup. Sodium, as you've already learned, pulls water into your bloodstream, increasing blood volume and pressure. Meanwhile, the fats in these spreads make your arteries less elastic. The combination is deadly. Imagine a garden hose left outside in winter, stiff, brittle, and under pressure. That's what happens inside your arteries when these foods become a habit. One night of high salt and trans fat can raise your blood pressure overnight, strain the small vessels in your brain, and in some cases trigger a stroke while you sleep. I remember a patient named Marjorie, 78 years old, who loved her nightly ritual of crackers and cheese dip while watching television. "It's light," she told me, "not like real cheese." But the truth was cruel. One morning, she woke up unable to move her left leg. A scan showed a blockage in her middle cerebral artery, a clot that had formed from years of vascular inflammation and high blood viscosity. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. Her blood pressure medication was regular. But the combination of trans fats and sodium had been building microscopic damage in her blood vessels for years, until the night her brain simply couldn't compensate anymore. What's particularly dangerous about cheese spreads is how deceptive they are. They don't feel heavy like fried foods. They don't taste overwhelmingly salty. They're soft, creamy, and mild, designed to make you believe you're making a better choice. But inside your body, the story is different. The hydrogenated oils they contain stiffen your arteries. The emulsifiers interfere with gut bacteria that help regulate inflammation. The sodium makes your heart pump harder, your blood thicker. These are not small effects. They are daily, cumulative assaults that your aging circulatory system simply cannot handle the way it once did. For seniors, the risk isn't immediate discomfort. It's the slow erosion of safety. Every evening snack made from these spreads pushes your blood pressure slightly higher, thickens your blood just a little more, until one day, one clot travels too far and too fast. That's how a lifetime of small choices ends in one silent, devastating moment. If you crave that creamy texture, you can make your own spread with low-fat cottage cheese, olive oil, and herbs. It gives you the same satisfaction without the poison. The secret isn't in avoiding pleasure. It's in understanding what your brain can't survive anymore. And if you think those processed cheese dips are dangerous, wait until you hear about the healthy snack packs, the portable string cheeses that promise convenience but carry hidden risks that could be even deadlier for your brain overnight. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 7. 7. String cheese and snack packs. They look innocent, don't they? Those tidy little sticks of string cheese wrapped in shiny plastic, the snack pack sitting neatly in your fridge, convenient, portioned, marketed as healthy protein on the go. They're a favorite for busy families, and many older Americans reach for them believing they're a safe, smart choice, something quick, light, and nourishing. But as a brain doctor, I can tell you the truth that few people ever hear. These so-called snack cheeses are far from harmless. In fact, for aging arteries and slowing circulation, they're one of the quietest and most dangerous triggers for stroke. Here's why. Each of those little sticks often carries 250 to 350 milligrams of sodium, sometimes even more when paired with packaged meats, crackers, or flavor coatings. Many seniors eat 2 at a time without realizing they've just consumed over half their safe daily sodium allowance. Sodium isn't just a number on a label, it's a force that changes how your blood behaves inside your body. As it builds up, it pulls water into your bloodstream, increasing volume and pressure. The heart must pump harder, pushing thickened blood through fragile arteries that no longer stretch the way they once did. It happens quietly, every night, every week, every month. Then one morning, a small clot breaks loose, and it triggers a stroke that changes everything. The danger doesn't stop there. Many commercial snack cheeses are ultra-processed, containing stabilizers, preservatives, and thickening agents that alter the balance of fats in your bloodstream. Over time, these additives raise LDL cholesterol, the kind that sticks to artery walls like glue. In older adults, where the protective lining of the arteries, the endothelium, is already thinning, even minor damage can turn deadly. Those rough patches inside your vessels become magnets for platelets, the tiny cells that help blood clot. Slowly, invisibly, a clot forms, often during rest, when blood flow naturally slows. The brain is especially vulnerable at night, when oxygen levels dip, blood thickens slightly, and blood pressure rises before dawn. That's the perfect storm, a clot ready to move at the worst possible time. I remember a patient, 79 years old, named Charles. Every afternoon, he'd snack on 2 sticks of string cheese while watching the news. "It's better than chips," he told me proudly. And he was right, and it was better in theory, but not in practice. Over the years, that daily sodium load, combined with his mild dehydration and high blood pressure, slowly wore down his arteries. One morning, he woke up with a drooping face and couldn't lift his left arm. The scan showed a blockage deep in the brain, a clot that had likely formed during the night and moved with his morning blood pressure surge. Charles survived, but his speech never fully returned. He later told me, "I thought I was eating healthy. I didn't know a snack could do this." It's not that cheese itself is evil. It's that these convenient processed forms are designed for profit, not protection. For older adults, every gram of sodium, every ounce of saturated fat, and every artificial stabilizer matters more than it did 30 years ago. The body's resilience fades, and the smallest imbalance can tip the scale from stable to catastrophic. If you want cheese, choose fresh, unsalted mozzarella balls or small cubes of goat or feta cheese. Eat them with water, not crackers. Make it a ritual of care, not convenience. You've earned that kind of respect for your body. And if you think snack cheeses are sneaky, wait until you hear the truth that ties everything together. Because in the end, the danger isn't in one bite or one food. It's in the quiet routines we trust, the habits that feel safe, and the small choices that slowly shape the fate of your brain. Final wake-up call: the truth about cheese and the aging brain. If you've made it this far, it means you care. And that already puts you ahead of most. Because understanding what happens inside your body as you age isn't fear-mongering, it's empowerment. The truth is simple, and it's sobering. Most strokes that occur during sleep, during breakfast, or during quiet afternoons aren't random. They're the result of small, repeated choices, the foods we trust, the comforts we never question. And for millions of older Americans, cheese has quietly become one of those hidden dangers. For decades, we've been told cheese is wholesome, natural, even good for the bones. And yes, in moderation, pure, unprocessed cheese can be part of a balanced life. But the modern American cheese landscape isn't about moderation, it's about marketing. The slices that melt too perfectly, the tubs that never spoil, the powders that last a year in your cupboard, these aren't real foods. They're engineered substances, dense with sodium, hydrogenated oils, stabilizers, and fats that your aging body simply cannot process the way it once did. When you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, your arteries have already carried a lifetime of pressure. They've endured decades of meals, emotions, medications, and stress. They are no longer elastic garden hoses. They are fragile pipelines feeding your brain. And every bite that thickens your blood or raises your pressure puts you one step closer to disaster. These foods don't just raise cholesterol. They change the texture of your blood. They trigger clots. They trigger strokes. The saddest part is that most people never feel it coming. You go to bed after a comforting dinner, maybe some pasta with cheese, a small snack before bed, a little indulgence. You feel fine. But during the night, as your body rests, your blood thickens slightly, your pressure rises just before dawn, and that one small clot that's been forming for weeks finally moves. When morning comes, you wake up different. Your words slurred, your balance gone, your independence changed forever. But here's the hope. It doesn't have to end that way. Because the same habits that cause harm can be rewritten. You can choose natural cheeses over processed ones. You can reduce portion sizes, drink more water, and never eat heavy cheese before bed. You can protect the vessels that carry your memories, your stories, and your voice. You are not too old to change. You are not too far gone to protect your brain. Every meal, every choice, every slice matters more now than ever before. So tonight, before you open that fridge, pause for a moment. Ask yourself one question. Is this bite feeding my brain or starving it? Because when you protect your sleep, your heart, and your circulation, you're not just preventing a stroke. You're protecting the most sacred thing you still own, your mind. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us.